Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Auschidys Disability Africa Show. I'm your host, Maureen Kaveke, and today I'm humbled and honored to have your favorite Muhesh in the house. You've been asking for him. Here he is, Honorable Isaack Mwaura.
Yeah, thank you very much to have you, Maureen Kaveke. It's
Yes.
extremely exciting, courtesy of Martin Kilavi. I am happy to, to be on your show. And yes, so that we can share with the people what they want to know. My name is Isaack Mwaura. I've been a member of parliament in the National Assembly from 2013-2017, Senator 2017-2022. I've been appointed as CAS in the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. We are waiting the Court of Appeal verdict. I am the chairman of the Albinism Society of Kenya, and I also hold many other titles in serving humanity.
Wow.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, I tried going through your profile, and I can tell you this for free. It is pages and pages. You've accomplished so much. I couldn't even go through all of it, though I tried to. How have you managed to do all this?
Well, thank you very much. I'm humbled to hear that. You know, recently, I found someone from Germany, and he had a whole profile of me looking for me. He had come to Kenya once, twice, then he found me by happenstance because we were in the same location. But it's just because I've been passionate about serving society and making a difference where it matters the most. Yeah, so I think it is important to really state that, I'm a born-again Christian.
Wow.
And so I want to fulfill my purpose here on earth. Yeah. Because I mean, it is the reason why God gave me that opportunity to serve in whatever other capacities that I have done so. Yeah.
And I must commend you that you're achieving your purpose in such a greater way, and I'm sure God is happy with you wherever He is.
Well, God is here with us. And Maureen, that is what you see. If you read the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 36, it talks about David after he had fulfilled the purpose of his generation. He died and was buried with his ancestors. Everybody must fulfill their purpose. And the 7-8 billion of us that are here, we have a purpose to accomplish. And many people die without knowing their purpose.
Unfortunately, so actually I was going to say that many people do not know their purpose. They do not know why they exist, and so they end up wasting their years. And we bury them so sadly. But for your case, and actually people have been asking for you.
Okay, really?
Saying, where is Mheshimiwa? Where is Isaack Mwaura? To hear his story.
Okay, they've been asking in the channel?
Yeah.
Oh, like
and even calls.
Okay.
Yes.
Here I am.
Yeah, I wanted you to be the shelter. I'm really excited today that we're going to hear your story. Yeah, so Mheshimiwa, kindly share with us your personal journey, growing up and all that. How easy, how hard was it?
It was extremely hard because I was born with albinism, the only one in my immediate family. My father left. So I don't know him. I've never seen him.
You have never seen your father?
Yeah. But I have heard he said in his family we don't get children who look like pigs.
Oh, no.
And it was gross. But my mother, interestingly, was praying to get a child who is of a fairer skin complexion, but not a Mhindi or a Mzungu. So she got what she was praying for.
Her prayers were answered.
Her prayers were answered. So really, she gave me all the best that she could give me. I had to go to a special school, I think a primary school for the blind, at the very young age of 4.5 years, going to a boarding nursery school. That's torture.
Wow.
I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. It's still going on even to date, but it's not fair.
Why was it necessary for her to send you to a boarding
Because
school?
that's what the only school that they were told I could go to school to learn from.
Oh.
So at 4.5 years, I went for assessment when I was 3 years. 4.5 I joined, and I was to be in that school for the next 14 years. And yeah, it was good because then I found children with albinism like myself. And there was no discrimination on the basis of albinism. And then I was able to develop a self-esteem. But then people at home would wonder whether we would go to the same school as theirs and whether we would do the same curriculum. So it is good on one hand because it protects, it cushions you from the outside world, for you to develop your self-esteem and to get to know yourself. But on the other hand, it also alienates you from the society for them to start thinking that, okay, well, you're not like them. So yeah, so that's quite something that we need to look at when you go to we talk about whether children with the special needs or disabilities should be in the special schools or not. So I want to submit that. I mean, when yes, so I have my brother and I. My brother Henry is older than me by about almost 3 years. I was born 1982, born 1979, and he loved me as his brother. He would protect me when other children would pick on me. But then now I grew up around women. And I thought that when I grow up, I would be a woman, a black woman. Who would wear,
around your mother and your grandmother who gave you a lot of love and really protected you.
Yes, and also her sisters, my aunties. So I thought I would be black, I would be a woman and black and wearing earrings. that was my idea of becoming
no man except Henry.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, for some reason, I don't know. When I was young, I would see women were beautiful. So I thought being a grown up is to be a woman and to be beautiful. Yeah, so that was my the enduring image of being a grown up was being a woman. And because there's my grandmother who's really, for all intents and purposes, my second parent. May her soul rest in peace. She died almost 2021. So my mother had to go and work here in Githurai. And so she would leave us with my grandmother. And so for all intents and purposes, she really played a very critical role in me growing up. In fact, she became like the voice or the morality, or I don't know what, there's that voice of conscience. And that taught me how to, to know Christ and all of that. But I'm happy that I went to Thika School for the Blind, because Thika Primary School for the Blind, because it's very well cultured. It's run by the Salvation Army, so they really taught us how to love God, and that has been my grounding to date. Just like the Bible says, teach your children, the ways of the Lord; they'll never depart from them. Which I'm doing. Like I mean, just before you came, I was reading children's Bible to my son. About the creation, I just got him some of them, some 2 books, story times. And so in this place, we were many children, and so one would excel based on their giftings, and I started being a leader even when I was in nursery school. I was a class monitor, but I did a coup.
You did?
I did a coup.
Oh.
Yes. My sense of justice has not started now. When I was about 5, for some reason, I was not promoted to go to, so we had kindergarten 1 and 2. So kindergarten 2 was like PP2 now. So kindergarten 1 was PP1, like nowadays, in DCBC. So I stayed in PP1 or kindergarten 1 for 2 years. It was normal. For them to do so. By that time, you could get even kids who are 8 years still in nursery school, because I think of their special needs and all of that. So I was 4.5 when I joined. When I was 5.5, I still remained in kindergarten 1. But then they had made it that one of us who was the tallest, a girl, was a class monitor. But then she was making noise and not reporting herself. So I reported her, and I incited the other children, or rather rallied them. Maybe the word is not incited, rallied them to report this person, because I couldn't countenance a situation where somebody who is doing all the misdemeanors but not reporting herself, and then she was removed, and then I became.
So you started fighting for the rights of others at a very tender age.
Yes. I mean, that tells you. That tells you. These things start from very early on. And I knew even when I was in standard 1, at the age of 7, 6.5, 7, that I would be a politician.
You knew that?
Yeah.
I read that one of your uncles, one of your grandfathers,
yes,
could pick that.
At the age of 6 years. Yes. And he was right. So he would tell my so that grandfather of mine is a brother to my real grandfather, who died when I was 4 years old. But I can still remember him. At least I have a very good recollection of him. And so he would say, but it's like our son here would end up being a politician.
Why did he think so?
Because I was
vocal?
I was very talkative, and I was also very inquisitive. In fact, they used to tell me in broken English, curious killed the cat. Instead of saying curiosity, curious killed the cat. So I would be told a lot, because that would be said to me a lot. And also, I used to love people. So I remember in Kikuyu, there's a saying, like somebody who keeps on moving around may live, may not be at home when they are slaughtering a goat or some, they're making a feast. So because I would be out there playing with other kids. So I have always been a people's person.
There's no discrimination on your part? The way societies or...
No, there was. But I think there's that innocence of being a child.
Okay.
But now, in terms of people, like, staring by the gateway of our home, rural home in Githunguri, Kangengo. And my grandmother would tell them, kujeni chini mumuone. Come close and see. Hii ni zawadi tulipatiwa na Mungu. So I say it in Kikuyu, it sounds much better. So she was very proud of me. I was never hidden.
Yes.
But then people would think like I would not live for long. It happened that time people never used to understand disability. So another child who had cerebral palsy was born just like my time. So they combined the two. And he was not able to get physiotherapy, occupational therapy, so he couldn't walk. And he had been like that for so many years. For so many years in Gewa.
In your family or in your neighborhood?
Neighborhood.
Oh, neighborhood, okay.
So they thought even me, I wouldn't grow, I would not grow to be an adult. So I remember one day finding a lady, an older lady, said, umekuwa mkubwa aje? So it's like they expected me not to live for long. And then they were also misadvised that had I gone to the hospital earlier, there's a way they could get out my blood and get it the blood that would make me black. So I think they were confusing it with anemia.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So the blue babies and whatever. So they didn't anticipate, and there was very little understanding of albinism. And then my mother, so what I would do, I would be left in the sun, and I would be burnt thoroughly, and I would even develop spots, sunburns. And then what I would do, Maureen, I would remove my short and put it on my head
to protect yourself.
Yeah. So before they came to understand why I was doing so, so they were wondering, why is our son doing so? Anatoa suruali, anavaa kwa kichwa, because the sun was very hot. That's what I would do. Yeah. So. That's what I would do. So then my mother had to get admitted at Kiambu Hospital, where I was born, all the way up to Kenyatta National Hospital. And yeah, so they had to get me very hard medicine because I would be burned all over here. I still remember them administering that to me. And then they were told that you need to wear a hat. And then she was recommended for that I should buy sunscreen. I should get sunscreen. And she was given. It was on prescription. But then I then joined primary school, Thika Primary School for the Blind in 1989. I joined the kindergarten section in 1987. And then I was there and I did very well in terms of academics. I was always number 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Maybe an occasion of 4 or 5, but not beyond there. And I was also very good in sports. I was a very good runner. I was very good in drama. Wow. Very good in
public speaking.
Public speaking, yes. And also this, what do you call it? Solo verses.
Oh.
And I used to sing in the choir, junior choirs, you know, all of the way to the mixed choir, boys choir. I mean, I was a very active boy.
Wow.
I also, with my colleagues, we would compose songs. So I had a music group called United Gospel Singers. So I can compose songs actually. And then also, I was very good also in writing. So we had a school newspaper, weekly newspaper, that used to do it in Braille. What would happen every week, and then we would publish it. And people would really love it because we would write it in Braille with my friend Geoffrey Mudie, and they would read it so much that, because it was only 1 or 2 copies, they would circulate the whole school, so the blind students would read it until it would lose its texture, you know. So writing short stories. So I was a very active boy. Also, something that is quite, I wouldn't forget to say, I'm in primary level. I was given a responsibility of taking care of a guy called Maina. Maina had autism, had also cerebral palsy, and he was blind. So he had 3 combined disabilities. Yes, and for 4 good years, I would, drive him on the wheelchair. I would wash him. I would take care of him. And at some point, because in this thicker school for the blind, there are also special classes within the special school for those who had multiple disabilities. And at some point, my class teacher asked me why I used to associate with them more, and they said that they were contributing to my not performing well in school. So they were trying to remove me from them. And I was young, but I got very offended, but we couldn't do anything. Because they were my friends. They really were my friends. In fact, I was asking for a number of one of them yesterday, because we used to be part of my singing group. So up to the age of 13 and a half. But thank God, that year in standard 8, I was the best student. Out of the 6 exams we did for that standard 8, I was number 1 in 4 of them. And I was the best in the whole country in public speaking in Kiswahili in the Kenya Music Festival. Wow. Class 119J. I mean, those who do music festivals are still there. So I got a good certificate from JJ Kamodo. And I mean, I was happy. And it was about conservation, actually, of the environment. And so, yes, I got admitted. I was supposed to join Sarehe Boys School, but then they couldn't get children who had special needs. I went to high school for the blind, and I was the second best student. The one who was ahead of me had only 1 mark before, and that was those days. So I had a straight A in my exams. I'm very happy to say that. And then I was very active again in high school. I became a dormitory captain in Form 1. After being a class prefect. I also did another coup there. It repeated itself. I did another coup. My friend Eric, let me not say the second name, but he was also misbehaving. He was deposed. I was made class prefect, but within 2 months I was made a dormitory captain. And then I was very active. I was a chapel prefect. Wow. By the time I finished Form 4, I also did very good in public speaking at the national level. I went all the way to national level, representing Central Province, and in English. But this time around, it came number 4. I was both the head boy, the head student, and the CU chairman. Wow. So I was literally like the head of the church and the head of government.
Where do you get the time to do your studies? You did so much.
I did so, but I qualified to go to university. So that tells you.
You're a genius.
No, no, not really. I mean, there are people who just are. God prepares you for this. So after that, I joined. I started community work, community organizing. Started a youth group of about 120 people around the Kimbo-Githurai area. Now, it's good I explain to you. I grew up, shuttling between Githongori and Thika. But in 1997, my mother bought a small little piece of land and built a little house, and we moved to Githurai Kimbo, which is now part of Ruiru constituency. And I moved there. And I moved there. We moved there with my brother. So now, when I was in high school, I was coming from there, and then now that's when I started my youth group after Form 4. Honing my skills of being a CU chairman and also being the head boy. And then in 2002, I joined the university, Kenyatta University. But I was always a fighter for the marginalized. In fact, in high school, there was a strike led by other students, and after I had stepped down from being a head boy, and they say there is no way that strike could have been organized without me. But to be sincere, to be very honest, I had not participated in it. But because I was so influential, they thought that I couldn't be. 17 years later, the principal apologized to me. because he took offense of me, and I was innocent. And he told me when I was leaving from 4 at the gate, we shall rub shoulders in high places. Take it from me. We met 17 years later. I was a senator. Wow. He was still a principal of that school. He was retiring. And indeed, we rubbed shoulders in high places. Wow. To the extent that the president, in 2018, President Uhuru was launching the SNE policy, Special Needs Education Policy at KICC. And I found him because my former school was performing. And I joined them. But then I found my principal at the corner. They said, have you said hi to the president? He said, no. And I pulled him, took him to President Uhuru, and we did rub shoulders in high places.
The power of the tongue.
Yeah, and it came to pass. And of course, President Uhuru at that point in time also gave me a bus for Thika Primary School for the Blind. Wow. And they had not had a bus for 26 years. So yes, and in that school, I am the first person to be both member of parliament and senator, and to serve full terms there. So I am very proud, of that school. It's also a school that has nurtured people like Ruben Kigame, who used to look up to, people like Mary Atieno, people like Ibaya Laibuta, he's a judge of the Court of Appeal, and Monica Mbaru, and many others. Kamanu, a very famous. The judge? No, Mombi, no. Mombi is a student of Bishop Gatibo Ngadu. Okay. But yeah, she's not part of the alumni. Yeah, so it was the only high school for the blind in the whole country. Now there are several others, but at that point it was the only one in the whole country. Actually, in East and Central Africa, it was the first school for the high school for the blind. Just like my primary school, it was the first school for the blind since 1945. So by next year, I should be in 2 years' time. It should be how old? Yeah, 90 years, no? No, 2025 should be 80 years old. Okay. Yeah, isn't it? 80 years old. Yeah.
And Mheshimiwa, all this time you're doing our normal system.
It's a normal system. The only thing that they used to do is to give us large print. But for people who are blind, they would also be exempted for certain practicals. Okay. So it's just the normal system in a special school. Yeah, it could be like, just some few modifications, but the content is the same. The content is okay. So I qualified to go to university, and I joined Kenyatta University 2nd of September 2002. To
do special education.
To do special needs education. But I'd gotten admission to do law at the University of Nairobi. But my mother, because her ambition was to become a teacher, she said that I should go and do special needs education. It's very special. So I went there, did special needs education in French, and yeah, so I blame her because many people think that I have actually done law.
Yeah, you'd have become the best law in the country. That's my thinking.
Even recently, because I'm the chairman of the 50 CSs, all of the 50 of us, I was coordinating all the lawyers, and quite a number of them used to think that I'm a lawyer, actually. But I'm not, and it's good people to know that. However, I've been a lawmaker now.
Legislator. You didn't push your mom now that you've always been fighting for yourself.
No, I didn't, because at that point, you're a bit naive. Yeah. You're looking at her income. Will she be able to support? She's a single mom. Yeah. She's trying to raise also my brother as well. So I joined KU to September 2002. But the agitator in me, students, I had a roommate called so-and-so, and he had a lot of problems paying his school fees. So I would be the one taking him to the Higher Education Loans Board. Hata tuko najua Nairobi vizuri. Like we do know West and East, we get lost.
Tunaenda archives.
Yeah, tunaenda archives, tunaenda hivi, tunashindwa West ni wapi. Yes. Tumekuwa pia hapo. Then we would go to help. That time they used to be at Post Bank House, I think. Yeah. I don't know if they still are. No, I think they moved to Ambassador. There are some places they used to be there. I think they were in 2 houses or something. So you find Belio Kipsang, who is the current PS for higher education. Yes. So he was a loans officer. So he used to give us money. So I remember he wrote to us commitment letters that we would get help. We came back home very happy. But I was taking my friend to get the loan because my mother would struggle to pay for me. So yeah. So sometimes when you do good, it helps. But we rioted at some point and went and blamed Kenya Society for the Blind for raising funds with our profiles and not helping us to pay school fees. Because majority of the students who are blind or visually impaired could not pay school fees. We were read the Riot Act. We were told we were going to be expelled from the university. We appeared on national television at that time. I remember on NTV.
And is it true? Is it true that they were trying to do that? They did that?
No, yes, they were. There was Professor Anna Wasike. She was a director of students affairs. It's true. I mean, they called us at the KUSA offices and read us the Riot Act. But the good thing is that a foundation from Netherlands called Lilian Fons came on board and paid a lot of school fees for many people. And I may not have been the most needy, but I also benefited from that. Yeah. So that helped. That protest helped. Yeah, we may have been threatened that we would be thrown out of the university. In fact, when my mother saw me doing so, she wrote me a letter because she saw it on TV and still told me she was going to disown me because she had warned me, because she knew I was political. That if I went to the university, we should not join student politics because people like Solomon Muruli, for those who know, had been killed at the hostel at the University of Nairobi. People like Wakabando had been expelled. So there was a very bad name for student leaders because of the way they used to be cracked down upon by the then Moi regime. But in December, NAC won. Then they had banned all university students' unions. The ban was lifted. And I decided one day, by the time I joined KU, for some reason, the special needs education class, they elected me unanimously to be their class secretary. It was a huge class of about 400 people. Wow. And a good number of them were former high school teachers and primary school teachers. So, but for some reason, they said that I should be the class secretary. And they said that I was very mature. For some reason, they just liked me. So when the KUSA elections were called, I wanted to be a hostel representative. That time we used to call them block representative. To cut the long story short, I went to the papers to get endorsement. There was a lady, I forget her name, but she was from a school in Nyanza. A very good high school lady. I forget her name, but she was short, and I don't know where she went to, and I may forget her. She told me, no, Mwaura, you deserve more than just being a block representative. Can you go for the executive? And they signed for my papers. I was with my friend Jeremiah Mercy. She's now a lecturer somewhere. And I won. I won with a landslide. We were seven executive members at KUSA. We won. People used to call me Yoshpal guy. So in that 7-member elected, I was in first year, second semester. Wow, in fact, 12th of February, when I was elected, 2003.
To become the?
To become special member.
Wow.
Special member. We had the chairman. We had vice chairman, we had secretary general, deputy, treasurer, deputy, and special member. Wow. Now, special member was a minister without portfolio. Okay? And it was not for those with special needs. Let me explain to you. No. It was just an official title called special member, which was under the constitution. So I was elected with a landslide. In fact, all of my competitors combined could not get my votes. So we got into KUSA. People used to call me Yashpal guy because of my skin color. I took it in stride and started to review, and therefore was able to get a new KUSA constitution. The first one, actually the first KUSA constitution, is my brainchild. Wow. And we served with the people like Gladys Nyasuna Atieno Wanga, who is now governor for Fama Bay. The 7 members who we served with, Kariuki Karo Gideon was our chair. He's now an oil man. He runs petrol stations. Vice Chair Dr. Abraham Rugo. You may have seen him once in a while on TV. He runs an international NGO. Wanga is a secretary general. Is a governor of Homa Bay. Yes. Robinson Mwenda is a country manager for KK Security in Uganda. Hagai Ochami is a prison person, and Achengo Sogo has been a PA to Otieno Kajwang and myself. So that group did very well, very well. So it was the executive. Served that in 2003-04. Then in 2004, I not only represented Kenya in many places, including Oslo, Norway, for the first time, but then I was appointed by government to sit in the first board of directors of the National Council for Persons with Abilities at the age of 22. Oh no! I was elected by my fellow students, but then they were only taking 8 people in the whole country. Okay. As one of the 8. So I really thank God, because that now gave me a footing into government. So Ochilo Ayako, who is now the governor for Homa Bay, was our minister. So he gazetted us, and I was gazetted as a director. The youngest at the 22, not even finished university at the age of 22. So that was my first government appointment. We are the ones who set the Disability Council, as we know it today, from scratch. We were given 3 officers. We were at the Nyao Stadium, that's where the Department for Social Services used to be, with Commissioner Hon Mwaura as a leader, and the rest is history. So I served there from 2004 to 2007. By that time, I finished university at KU, and I had already, in 2006, I joined politics. I joined ODM as a youngest National Executive Committee member. But before I joined ODM, I had also been a PA to Nazlin Urmar Rajput, who was then a presidential candidate. If you remember her, you may forget her. But she ran for president in 2007. But then I couldn't stay for long with her. And then through Anyang' Nyong'o, and I think I need to say that very clearly, Peter Anyang' Nyong'o is the one who held my hand. Because people say it's Raila Odinga. No, it's Peter Anyang' Nyong'o who held my hand. Because we had done a film with Lupita Nyong'o called In My Genes, where I was acting as an aspiring politician. She took me to the father, and the rest is history. Wow. So that is how I joined politics. God works in mysterious ways. And then I was to be nominated to Parliament in 2007 at the young age of 25, together with Susan Mangeni, who is now a PS for cooperatives. We were the youngest. I was 24, she was 25. I hope I'm not disclosing her age to the public. We were the youngest. And Professor Julia Ojambo also, I want to say thank you because you held our hand. Because that time ODM was a corporate, whatever. So joined in, was there for quite some time. That time I also continued to, I got my first job at the UDPK as a programs officer. I'll move a little bit fast from now. And then I went to work in Papua New Guinea as a human rights advisor in South Pacific. Came back. We formed in 2006, we also formed the Albinism Society of Kenya. I was elected as the vice chair, but then I became the de facto coordinator, national coordinator, helped to put the organization together. It's done a lot of work, brought together Kinamombi Ngogi. I'm the one who looked out for them, stepped down for them to be whatever. I was initially elected, registered as treasurer, and we have done a lot of work on albinism. So in 2010, I went to study in South Africa at Nelson Mandela University. Did my first master's, and then in 2011 I went to study at the University of Leeds in England. Did my second master's, and then in 2013 I was appointed. I was nominated to the National Assembly. That was my dream. That by 2012 in general election, elections were supposed to be done in 2012. Just that there was that transition. I was going to be Parliament. I was to be in a relationship that could lead into marriage. That's how I met my wife. We've now been married for 8 years.
Mheshimiwa, hold it. We need to take a glass of water. Then when we come back, we go down to your family life and all that. So, viewers, Mheshimiwa is vocal. My goodness. Wow. I hope you're following the story, the interesting story of his life. Let us take a short break. We'll be back in a minute.